Once again, we dip into the world of mental health, resulting in hitherto unimaginable consequences. But we'll also look at how illicit substances can impact mental health, and of course vice versa. We'll be staying in the UK for this case, which occurred in March of this year, 2024, in the picturesque village of Burbage in Leicestershire, or for our American friends, Leicestershire. This is the tragic death of Tina Bauld, and this is Murderous Crow. In history, or for our American friends, old times, the Earl of Mercia gave the village of Burbage to Coventry Abbey in 1043. At that time it was valued at 2 shillings. By the time of the Domesday Book in 1086, its value had risen to £4. There were around 1¼ hides of land, around 150 acres or 0.61 square kilometres, with 2 ploughs. Important, can't forget your ploughs. 20 villagers held 2 small holdings with 2 slaves and 8 ploughs. Burbage also had a meadow measuring a furlong in length and width. It's about 40,500 square metres. The village also owned woodland half a league by 4 furlongs, which is equivalent to about 2.2 square kilometres. Fast forward many years, and by 1953 the population had risen to 3,983. And then by 1958 there were more than 5,000 on the electoral roll. And this rapid growth was largely due to the expansion of Sketchley Hill housing estates. In 2001 the population of Burbage was 14,324. Burbage Common and Woods are in the northeast corner of the parish, and this is a country park run by the local borough council. Its history as a grazing area dates back to at least the Domesday Book of 1086. And it is now a 200-acre or 0.81 square kilometre park, popular with, amongst others, bird watchers, walkers and horse riders. And don't forget the dog walkers, always watch out for the dog walkers, they always find the bodies. But anywho, Tom and Christina Bauld lived in Burbage, Leicestershire, and they lived comfortably in a £1 million home. Christina, better known to all who knew her as Tina, and Tom had just one child, a young man named Gregor. They had brought Gregor up extremely well, though he did perhaps have something of a sense of entitlement and complacency through being brought up comfortably in an upper middle class family. But it seems that things began to change for the child as he entered his teenage years. This was mainly due to not so much his rebellious phase as such, but rather the form that rebellion took. When he was around 13 years of age, Gregor Bauld began experimenting with drugs. But not just any drugs, it seems, but rather all of them. Anything he could get his hands on. Then came mental health issues. But as is the case with so many stories of mental health and drugs, knowing what came first for a particular individual is something of a chicken and egg scenario, as they are so often intertwined together, with drugs often used as a coping strategy, but drugs, as we know, often triggering and instigating mental health problems and episodes. So there's a strong link between the two. By this year, 2024, Gregor Bauld was 22 years old, and he was struggling with his mental health. But this did little to slow down his drug use, though the kid himself was acutely aware of the root of his problems. The 22-year-old reportedly told friends he was feeling suicidal. He had originally been due to go on holiday with his friends in the middle of March 2024. But his growing problems saw him call off the holiday. His growing unrest was seen in Facebook conversations, where instead of going on holiday, Bauld had told friends he needed to take a 4-month drugs break away from them. Now, Bauld's friendship group were mostly friends from school that had grown up together, and they would regularly get together to smoke cannabis. While Bauld, not content with that, also used Xanax, ketamine, and other drugs. As you do. Bauld's friend Aaron Calver, who went to school with Gregor Bauld from the age of 11, visited him on Friday, March the 1st. Where Calver said that Bauld had insulted his own friends, calling them waste men and dossers, and said he would not go on holiday with any of them. Now, Calver revealed that Bauld had been due to drive the group to their destination, so his pulling out meant that they were going to be out of pocket, which would probably have pissed them off. I know it would have pissed me off. Calver, who worked about 5 miles from Bauld's home in the Coppice in Burbage, walked to Gregor Bauld's home and stood at the gate and had a conversation with him, which ended after Gregor Bauld's father Tom came out of the house threatening to get people down here if he did not leave. Now, something that was further compounding Gregor Bauld's inner turmoil at around this time was the fact that Tom and Christine Bauld were reportedly selling their home in Burbage. So Gregor Bauld would either have to move away, or more likely he would have to strike out on his own. Aaron Calver sent an apology to Bauld, and then Bauld messaged him back, also apologising, with Gregor saying, "Dude, I'm broken. I need help. It's not fair releasing it on you guys. I'm sorry, man." And he added, "I've had enough. I'm suicidal. I just have an illness from the world." And it was here that he also revealed, as we suggested earlier, that he needed a 4-month drugs break away from his friends. Now, another of Gregor Bauld's friends was James Startin, who went to Hastings High School in Burbage with Gregor Bauld. He said that Bauld's parents were selling their home in Burbage and that Bauld would have to find his own place. Perhaps the final straw for the troubled young man came when his supply of drugs was found and confiscated by his father. And his father did this in a desperate bid to try to curb his spiralling habit. Addiction and mental struggles combined to create an anxious rage that was growing within the 22-year-old. That his friends were all too aware of, with James Startin saying about the incident, he was extremely upset and said he needed to get his hands on some more, referring to drugs. Now, this was all occurring between the 1st and 2nd of March 2024. And ironically, this all came just after a positive step for Gregor Bauld, because Gregor had successfully obtained a new job at a logistics firm, which was really good news for the entire family. But the following night, his father and mother heard sounds of howling coming from upstairs where Gregor's bedroom was. And when his father went upstairs, he found Gregor in his bedroom, hunched over, sniffing drugs off a saucer using the plastic casing from a pen. Tom Bauld cleared the drugs away and put his son to bed, because, according to Tom, Gregor was so addled by drugs he could not function properly. He hid the drugs but told his son the following day that he had washed them all away, which made Gregor Bauld very emotional, and he tearfully promised he would not do any more drugs. But a similar thing happened, leading to a savage attack. It was after the hideous event that we will be discussing shortly that Gregor's father Tom described what happened when he took his son's drugs away. Tom said, "I saw Gregor frantically searching his car, and I was suspicious. I don't know why." I do, Tom. "He went to the shower, and I went straight to his jogging bottoms." And it was here that Tom said that he discovered some white tablets in plastic bags in the pockets of the jogging bottoms. Tom said, "I told him I'd thrown them away. He was screaming at me. Therefore my anxiety, you don't know how it makes me feel. I won't get through today." And he didn't, did he? He became more and more aggressive, and this was just the precursor to something truly, truly awful. Tom then described what happened next. He said that he and Christine could hear Gregor banging about upstairs, and his wife, who hadn't spoken to her son since the tablets were discovered, said that she was going to go out to walk the dog to get away from the house. Moments later, Tom Bauld heard his wife shouting, "He's got a knife! He's got a knife!" And then, according to Tom, Christine then ran out of the house, chased by their son, who was armed with a kitchen knife that had a 13-centimetre blade. Tom described the scene with him saying, "He was pursuing her. I couldn't see the knife at that point. She ran into the streets. A couple of times he stabbed her, and then she panicked and cowered on the floor, and I think he put the knife in again." He said that his son didn't say a single thing throughout the entire attack, which was captured on CCTV. Tom said, "I'm screaming for help from the whole street. I'm by her, not holding her properly like I should have. I thought she was going to be all right." Tom continued shouting for help, and then saw a massive pool of blood around his wife, with him saying, "I knew she was dying. She had one last gulp, and I knew she was gone. The ambulance came. It was all in slow motion. They tried everything. And then they came and told me she was dead." Gregor had by then walked back inside the home, telling police when they arrived on the scene that his mother was a paedophile and she deserved it. Following his arrest and subsequent toxicology tests, a cocktail of hard drugs were found to be in his system, including LSD, ketamine, and cannabis. Much later down the road, at his son's trial, which began in October of 2024 at Leicester Crown Court, he would describe his son's troubled attitude towards his mother long before the fatal attack occurred, with him describing his son's previous psychotic episode. Tom Bauld revealed that about 18 months before the fatal attack, Gregor Bauld had made threats against his mother, who he believed to be an alien. Tom went on to say, "He was saying, 'She's an alien, I'm going to kill her.' She was in fear for her life. We got him sectioned. They sectioned him, and in 2 days they told me it was a psychotic episode and not a psychotic condition. And so I got him out after 2 days." The trial is still ongoing, but with so much evidence, including CCTV and toxicology, the only doubt is whether Gregor Bauld will meet the threshold for a diminished responsibility judgment, since the 22-year-old has already admitted this lesser charge. I imagine that we will know the verdict within the next 2 weeks or so, and the sentence shortly after this. But I wanted to cover this case sooner rather than later, to look at what happens when mental health issues and drug use converge, with chaotic and tragic results. I think, just my opinion here, but I think the best outcome would probably be for Gregor to receive the treatment that he desperately needs, whether that be in prison or in a psychiatric facility. He has clearly been troubled for some time, since he was sectioned, albeit briefly, at least 18 months ago. It remains to be seen how his father will react towards the son who is now also the killer of his own wife, and the victim being the killer's own mother. Were there signs of a crisis brewing? Potentially, and taking away a drug addict's substances and taking them away cold turkey is often a trigger for anxiety and rage, but no one could have imagined that it would end with Gregor killing his own mother. I can only hope that this troubled young man gets help, but is also kept away from the public for the foreseeable future, just for the safety of the wider public. In the absence of any victim impact statement, since the trial has yet to actually reach that point, one of the best tributes to Tina's personality and character came from a neighbour of the Baulds following the tragedy. And this neighbour, who actually attended the couple's wedding but was keen to remain anonymous while giving comments, said, "It's Tina. There was a tent up in the road for God knows how long. There were police cars, helicopters and drones. Her poor husband Tom has lost his wife. He came up with his head in his hands. It was horrific. I couldn't believe it. It was absolutely horrible. She was the most smiley, loveliest woman that you could wish to meet. Always smiling, always upbeat. Her glass was always full to the top. The life and soul if you ever went out. She was absolutely lovely." And that was the still ongoing case of Tom, Tina and Gregor Bauld, caught in a situation where drugs and ongoing mental health issues combined to instigate a mental health crisis which massively impacted all three of them in different ways. It was a complete tragedy. And this episode is, of course, dedicated to Tina, who died at the hands of her own child, in a situation where all three members of the family were, in their own ways, victims. I hope Tom copes with his grief, and that Gregor gets the help he needs, while the public remain protected from him. Thank you for watching another episode of Murder of Crows, and a very recent case at that. I will update you through the YouTube community posts as and when there is an outcome to this case. Please do me a favour and hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed yet. It genuinely helps me. There are memberships available, but no one should feel obliged to join. With all of that said, I'm Steve. Samson has gone swanning off. He has better things to do with his time, it seems. But with that said, I'm Steve, and I'll see you when I see you.
your head.